Let's talk about some troubleshooting if you have some issues with your suturing and you're trying to figure out what's going on. If you have a pucker in the skin when you've sutured, like back here, that means that you caught too close to the epidermis. When you've taken this bite down here, you've caught too close to the epidermis. So there's two ways you can handle that. As you're putting the needle in, you can either back it out. So see that pucker there? I've gotten too close. So you can either back your needle out this way, and you'll feel it pop off when it releases that part, and you'll see the pucker disappear. Or you can pull the epidermis off of it, either way, and then you see you have a nice flat line. So that's what you do if you have a pucker. This next way of getting a pucker, I want to get a little bit closer because it's going to be a little bit hard to see. We've talked about what to do when you have a pucker away from the skin edge back here that caught the epidermis. But what if you have a pucker right on the skin edge when you're doing a running subcuticular? How do you know what you did wrong? Well, I'm going to show you a close still in two different views so you can see the pucker. What it means is that you actually locked your stitch behind the last one. So let's look at this view from close-ups. So you see that pucker on the skin edge itself? Okay, so now let's look at this and demonstrate what you did. When you took your stitch on this, the last stitch on this side, it stopped right here. So then you came across with your needle holder and you took a bite here, which is normal, and I took a little bit longer than usual so you could actually get a good view of the pucker. So you took a stitch here, and now you went back to take your next stitch, and instead of going, here's the last one, instead of going in front of it here, you went behind it here. So what that does is this skin edge here now is being pulled back behind that last stitch. So as it's being pulled back, this whole edge is going to pucker right there, and I'm going to pull it through because it's being pulled back this way and over here instead of just being pulled straight and having the room to move. So let me just show you. See what happens? See that bulge there that's happening? So that means that you've locked your stitch and you're pulling that tissue behind your last stitch, and that's why it's puckering. If you have a pucker in the corner, that means that you have taken a longer bite on one side and a shorter bite on the other side, so that when you took the long bite and then when you went back to take the short bite, it pulled this side up because it's trying to be even with the other side, and you end up with a pucker in the corner like that. So you want to make sure that these bites in the corner are even on both sides. What does it mean if you have your skin edges together and it looks like that on one side and on the other side it looks like this? You can see more of the dermis. That means you haven't taken even bites on both sides. You have to take exactly the same size bite, and you have to come out below the skin at the same area. If you take a bite and you come out here on this side and you come out here on this side, it's going to pull this down to where you took that last bite. So you want to come out here on this side and the same spot on the other side to get it to come together. So be sure. That's what happens if you don't have even bites. You're going to see the dermis on one side or the other. If you have a running subcuticular and the doctor wants to take it out, or you're going to pull it and it doesn't slide, what does that mean? That means that you've locked your suture. Say your last bite was here and you take your bite on this side, right? You should be starting here beyond where your last bite ended. But if you go back here and start your next bite here, you've gone behind the suture, and that means you've locked it, and it won't slide. It's going to lock itself, and you won't be able to pull that suture. It's going to be seated wherever you've put it when you locked it. So you don't want to lock your suture unless you intend to. If your incision is ruffled, then that's what we were talking about earlier. You pulled your running subcuticular too tight, and the skin has tried to accommodate it by ruffling itself around the suture so the suture is straight.